I'm back! Alright. HellgardeN. Making noise. Living fast. Their debut. A groove. Thrash. Even to the point of crossover thrash, by the way. Which kind of still qualifies as groove. Metal band that essentially has cited PANTERA. More on that later. Lamb of God and Machine Head, more so or less, depending which albums you're talking about with them. Sure ain't the last album or whatever they've used. I don't bother to talk about Machine Head because currently they don't have anything interesting for me other than, I mean, Blacken did some fine stuff, but it's just. But anyways, as far as this band is concerned, this band is basically. I'm gonna be honest with it. First off, thank you for reaching out. I had a feeling I was gonna just get straight up just PANTERA worship the moment I heard Learning to Play Dirty. I was right. However, over multiple listens over this quarantine, you do hear the other stuff that they have mentioned in Lamb of God. Of course, the other influences that they share similarities towards PANTERA and the many bands that had followed and have come before PANTERA. Most of the bands that they had cited being Lamb of God and Machine Head. I had already said this earlier. Whatever. Thank you to Keg Gabriel. I probably butchered that and I am sorry. Probably why I will not be able to say anything on the other band members' names. I wish I had my stuff prepared with me at this current point compared with which I did the other times, and yet somehow I wasn't satisfied with those. Figure that. So I apologize if you don't like what I have to say for the most part, other than the fact I said thumbs up. I wish I could say this, but like I said, you got the Greta Van Fleet issue, and I kind of liked what they did bring to us for the most part, despite the obvious that no one's wrong about that. It's just the way that it comes off. It's more refreshing, and let's face it, like the Greta Van Fleet with you guys, when it comes to them, good luck getting more new Led Zeppelin. When it comes to you, I mean, I should accept it, given that good luck getting many more new PANTERA, especially now that Vinnie Paul is gone. Rest in peace. Even though there's talks of a somewhat semi-close to reunion you're ever going to get with Melvin Phil, Rex, and freaking... and apparently Zach Wilde. Here nor there with that. I like what you're doing, and it's clear that you're doing PANTERA, but you're also taking Lamb of God's approach in the sense of how they consider themselves a punk band playing metal music, but in your case it's clearly way more on the lines of being hardcore in general, even in your attitude and a lot of the lyricisms, and it's the final spit on hypocrisy and just everything, mostly supposed to be political, but I got a lot more out of it in terms of a lot of just hypocrites in general. Spit on hypocrisy. I can't even do it right because my voice isn't meant for Anselmo's style of screaming, as opposed to a more Maynard style screaming. So forgive me for that terrible whispered attempt at a scream. So, but yeah, and even the tone-wise, and in fact, it helps knowing that the way the band did this whole record, in capturing this, they literally did it all analog. It went straight to tape, and they did it upon years and years of having practiced, which is exactly what PANTERA did prior, and many in albums as Glamterra, prior to what we know of PANTERA since Cowboys from Hell onwards, or at least the ones that dressed up more like hardcore kids. It's at least hardcore kids from Texas. or at least Texas's punk scene, I guess you could say. But anyways, these band, they're from Brazil themselves. And the singer had also said he had used a certain style, and his vocals do come off pretty close to Phil's, let's face it, especially more very guttural, shouted vocal style that is sort of growly, but really it comes off more like gritty cleans, which given thanks to modern production, you can kind of still be able to pull it off, even with given the full analog you chose to go with. Even your producer was more interested in a lot of what used to be of that particular form of 90s metal that people bothered to give a damn about, aside from the sludge scene, which I wouldn't mind if you did some of that a little bit. Like, I feel like you need as far as the debut, it's great. I do feel like you might want to experiment with some other ideas. I wouldn't mind like your bass player kind of doing a little bit more than just filling in the low end. The same way Rex did. Because Rex barely did anything for the band aside from doing his job of filling in the low end. Most people don't talk about Rex for that reason. Hell, a lot of people wonder if Cliff Burton was in the band, how much more elevated Pantera could have been. I'd love for him to do stuff like that, you know? And just experiment like a guitar, somewhat think like a guitarist a little bit more with it, without completely alienating yourself as a bass player. As being a bass player and doing your part of filling out alone, do a lot more and have moments where you can do like what he would do for like Whom the Bell Tolls. You do hear your Slayer, your Metallica, your big four thrash elements in here. I do like Evolution or I hate not having my notes with me. Should have remembered them before I recorded this, and I had them on me on the last couple, I promise, but that Evolution, I apologize. This is just, there's no way I'm gonna not do this. I promised you the first, so I'm wanting to do this anyway. Y'all were doing great. I mean, Learn to Play Dirty, I knew it was fine. Lead work is great. Of course, the attempt at brown sound style leads, still having your thrashy mid-tempo groove syncopated riffage. That's clearly the Pantera's Metallica meets Megadeth meets Slayer worship. Some Anthrax, I guess, is thrown in there. At least the more punk essence and certain aspects of the crossover thrash bands of your Infectious Groove, I guess, is one. And then your, amongst other crossover, more like a Corrosion of Conformity's crossover thrash days, probably. Filling in that regard, which would have to make sense given member of Corrosion of Conformity having worked with Phil Anselmo on down. And what that band turned out, most likely because of Kirk Weinstein relying on the crowbar, utilizing putting a metal zone in the clean channel of the HG100, I believe is what that particular Randall amp is called. That he does. That also is utilized here, aside from a Soldano 100 and what I believe should be a dual rectifier, not a triple. And whatever particular pedal he's using that may technically be a Metal Zone clone, more than likely. And then I guess some kind of tube screamery, or a noise gate more than likely, just to kind of, which I'm guessing Dime had to have used at least, tried to, but any of some sort. And then that's primarily your tone. The bass is fine. Like I said, maybe throw in some Cliff Burton stuff, or some Lemmy stuff. Even he had some more like guitarist-esque intricacies to him or something. Do something to kind of bring more in. I mean, Whom the Bell Tolls had had a lead moment in the beginning of with the intro, because that intro riff is essentially from a distorted bass. Because try doing it on the guitar, it does not work without, at least not unless you use a pitch shifter or something, or a whammy, which Dimebag did use. I don't believe Gabriel did, with this record or not. But I mean, that might have played a part too in whatever he needed to do Dime needed to do with his stuff when it come to the lead work and getting it to still tonally work despite being bass scooped as all heck. Or even if you use Dimebuckers. I don't even think he used Dimebuckers. But anyways, overall, I mean, Possessed by Noise is a mosh anthem of anything, and you do get some crossover stuff, and I think it's Evolution or Damnation. I want to say that is the name of that track. I probably wrong since I'm going off the top of my head. I apologize. But yeah, that one is very much there are moments where they do kind of take from other aspects you would clearly notice as Pantera. Which has a sort of a bottle of bad and bottle of pills kind of a vibe going on. Learn to Play Dirty, probably about how they eventually learn, which I guess is like their goddamn electric in terms of lyricism, I guess. To an extent, Possessed by Noise is sort of a mosh anthem, and they do have a crossover thrash moments in terms of wanting to get the pick going, and it works for that. I appreciate it now more, and once you've released that lyrics video, I tell you that. And the way they chose to end this it's not a bad song to cap this off. It at least does enough that I do want to feel like going back to it. Maybe not as often as some other albums I've heard, especially another one that's kind of amongst within the scene, that's of a bigger name band that's been consistent. But as far as this band is concerned, their debut is great. I would just, at least if you want to, the issue I think people will have is the Pantera, in terms of the Pantera worship. If you have an issue because of Phil's earlier issues and it's not going to do enough, or if you can have this feeling like I would rather just listen, I understand, but it's for being what it is. Solid as fuck. It's still worth checking out. Is it going to make my album of the year list? Depending on how the year goes, it's a maybe. Like I said, it's a thumbs up. I want to do this for you guys. I want to, actually, because you guys mainly because you guys were nice enough to reach out. There are very few bands that have bothered to do that for me. And so overall, yeah. Overall, just thumbs up. It's still a high enough recommendation if you're into Pantera. You need something to give you your Pantera fix in a good way, but more along the lines of like in Lamb of God's vein of being more punk band, plain metal music. This works for that, and they even play into the cross, even more so in the, I guess, a Burn the Priest kind of a way, more so being closer to crossover thrash as opposed to metalcore, but maybe closer to maybe the earlier stuff like New American Southern Gospel, or at least the album that followed that's name escapes me, or at least the way the original version was as opposed to the remastered, remixed version of that particular album I'm thinking of prior to Ashes of Our Awake, or Ashes of the Awake. But anyways, it's definitely better than it's better than Sacrament. It's better than even Trivium's worst record, which is considered 80s Metallica light, and that's still not that bad with the Crusade. But anyways, overall, I enjoyed you guys' works. I wanted to do a better job. I'm pissed that every time I get a chance to do this, I'm not, and I'm sorry. If you don't want me to do your albums again, which I still would like to, actually. I'm just hoping that, I just afraid that because of that, and not to mention the new Lamb of God coming up at the point of this being in the coming week is coming out. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Leave a comment below, let me know. We're gonna keep that in. I'm sorry, don't got time to not. So yeah, overall, yeah, I'm sorry to say in a professional review compared to everybody else, but I'm just as raw as it gets. But I hope you appreciate the fact that I at least somewhat enjoyed what you guys did. I still bother listening to it. I've at least listened to it within the past couple months, at least a couple times, while trying to at least catch up on Lamb of God. Because at least since they have a new record, I've been meaning to, and I like Strum and Drain, so that was my excuse for that. Overall, guys, just what did you think of the new HellgardeN? Leave a comment below, let me know. Making Noise Living Fast about what they do. Their little anthem there was a good idea too. It's 8 tracks. It's fun. It goes by pretty quickly. I don't know if they could go any longer without people getting super bored. But this works. Super bored because then in the fatigued feeling of, because at least, like, that's another thing. Pantera had power. Even Pantera was not into not having power ballads. You know, they weren't against doing it. Even within Down, Phil and the rest of that crew weren't against doing something of that nature. Would love to see you guys do that. Maybe bring in some of those more Sabbathy moments. You know, because Pantera was definitely not against it. Hell, they did a cover of Planet Caravan, and it still slays better than the original. Mainly because the remasters versions that we do wind up having to listen to nowadays suck. Speaking of that, I will eventually get to that. I promised Smatcher I would get to that. I gotta get to that. I wanted to get to this because you guys asked for it, and I promised I would get it out by June 1st. I'm sorry. Everyone else is better. I'm sorry. I hope you at least just... I'm Tyler, of Rockin' Movies. This is Rockin' Movies with Tyler. If you like this, what shit show of a mess this is, leave a comment below, let me know. Rock that like button with your thrust if you must. Hit that subscribe button. Link in the descriptions to my Facebook page. I might do something with Instagram. I started doing Instagram for more of a personal page. I might upload something there. I don't know. But we'll see. But anyways, take care, y'all. Yeah. Just rock on out.